From Washington, D.C. to the Central Coast, this is Focus with Farr, where our representative in Washington hosts in-depth discussions of important issues of the day. And now, Congressman Sam Farr.
Welcome to another Washington Chat for our series, Focus with Farr. For months now, Washington has been discussing our country's fiscal situation, from the economy to budget talks, fiscal cliffs to sequestration. It can often be confusing about how the decisions are made, how our elected officials here in Washington affect you back home in the Central Coast. Today, it is my pleasure to have as our guest a good friend, Congresswoman from my birth city of San Francisco, and the Democrats' leader in the House, Nancy Pelosi. Welcome, Nancy.
It's my pleasure to be with you, Sam.
No one in our nation's capital can say enough about this remarkable woman. I first knew her as a mother and activist in San Francisco. Her reputation as a hardworking mother, mother of 5 children, a civic leader, she won the hearts of all Californians. Elected in a special election in 1987, she quickly rose to power in a male-dominated Congress. As the first woman to lead a major political party in Congress, she shattered the glass ceiling of politics in 2007 by becoming the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives. She has been a powerful voice for civil and human rights around the world, fought hard to pass the historic health insurance reforms, and as Speaker has been a strong advocate for our nation's veterans. She's also been a close friend to me here in Washington, and I'm glad that you're able to join us today.
I'm honored to be here with you, Sam.
Let me ask you a personal story. I mean, you were raised in Baltimore, and then you went to school here in Washington. This is where you met your husband, Paul. Isn't that right?
That's where I met my husband, Paul, and Paul Pelosi, born and raised in San Francisco. So that's how I got
He takes you home to San Francisco?
To San Francisco, yes. Beautiful San Francisco. So.
And then you got involved in Democratic politics, and I remember when you were a state party leader in California. And
I was a volunteer. I had my 5 children, and when they were in school all day, I volunteered a bit. We had events at our homes at the grassroots level so that people could come talk about issues and the rest. And then for me, the big thrill of being the chair of the California Democratic Party, I thought I had really reached my heights, the biggest Democratic Party in the country. And then it was a different time when there was, we knew our opponents, the Republicans. It was a little more amiable at that time. And then I went on.
And then you get elected in the special election and have risen to power here and done wonderful things in the Appropriations Committee and been part of the chair of the subcommittee on foreign operations, on all the international issues, and then you were historic 10-year chair or involved with the Intel Committee. I mean, what an incredible background that I don't think any other person who's risen to Speaker has had. And but right now, I think the whole country is kind of focused on this impasse that we've had here in Washington. And you were able to get the president to come and speak to the Democratic caucus, and he's spoken to the other parties, and you spent a lot of time with him in the last couple of days. How do we explain this impasse? People just think it's something we can just get over, you ought to just work it out.
Well, we should.
It's really become.
Well, first, let me thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you for your leadership in Congress, coming as an experienced legislator from the California legislature, effective from the start here in Congress, and now your important role as the senior Democrat on the subcommittee that's important to California agriculture, and other areas, the security of our country and the rest, whether it's the security, our national security, whether it's our economic security. You've been quite the leader, and because as an experienced legislator, you've been able to just cut to the quick on some of the issues. This one is harder to do because it is a very deep values debate that we are having. And whether it manifests itself, this budget debate, in many ways, whether it's an appropriations, your committee now, the sequester, the continuing resolution, the debt limit, all of that, the budget, it it is hard for people to understand why we cannot come to agreement. And the public is right. We should come to an agreement. But I've been here 26 years almost now, and I've never seen a situation where the differences have been so great. And the fundamental difference is that the Republicans who are here now are Republicans who really do not believe in a public role. So if we're talking about clean air, clean water, food safety, public education, public transportation, public housing, public health, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, their view is the public role should be diminished, and that's why you make all these cuts. That's their belief, and bless their hearts, they act upon their beliefs. In another time, we would have been able to say, what are your priorities? Here are ours. Let's make a compromise. Now they're saying, we have no priorities except a sequestration, shutting down government. They consider that a victory. Now, I don't speak for all Republicans in that respect, certainly not those outside of Congress, but even inside of Congress. Not all Republicans share that view, but enough of them do to obstruct. And obstruction, do nothing, that's their goal.
You know, I've never seen that. I worked in the legislature when Ronald Reagan was governor.
Yeah.
We were always able to work out. I was a staff member at the time, and there was always the ability to work out a compromise. I mean, he wanted some things, but he would then work with the Democrats on things they wanted. And I know you've done that through both the Bushes.
Yeah, both Bushes.
Certainly the Republicans did it even under Newt Gingrich with Clinton. And it's now just become an incredible hard line, my way or the highway, and I think you're right. It's a dismantling of government as we know it, and particularly in those social services areas where people are so vulnerable.
Well, as you said, and as you know, you have worked in a bipartisan way in your career, and that's what we came here to do. Yeah. None of us came here thinking we were going to have it just our way. And when President Bush, George W. Bush, was president and I was speaker, we worked with him to pass the biggest energy bill in the history of our country. CAFE standards lower, you know, in terms of emissions, and it was like taking tens of millions of cars off the road in terms of the efficiency and conservation. That was part of that legislation.
In your leadership also, you almost doubled the entire budget for Veterans Affairs in this. No time in history was more effort given by one person than you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that, but that was our promise. We said if we try to get the Republicans to do that. When they didn't, we said, when we take the majority, we will do that. We did. We honored it. Advanced appropriations for our veterans, increasing the number. Now, you know, the wars that we have been engaged in have given us over 1.5 million new veterans. So the needs are so great in so many respects. And they make us the home of the brave, the land of the free. We owe them so much. When we do these budget cuts, it's really harmful because they are, if in a sequester, for example, they may be furloughing psychiatric nurses who are dealing with the post-traumatic stress syndrome that some of our returning vets have. How do you explain that to somebody who is in need, who served our country? We can't afford that. Of course we can afford. If we can afford the war, we have to recognize the cost of war. When people come home, as we say, on the battlefield, the military says, on the battlefield we leave no soldier behind. We have to say, and when they come home, we leave no veteran behind.
I really appreciate that commitment because I've seen for more in recent years the number of veterans reaching out for help. You know, and you've been able with your leadership to increase the GI Bill to give them access to higher education, and for their own family members, their daughters and sons.
Yes.
It's first time. That's wonderful, but we can't afford to be cutting these services. I'm working on trying to build a veterans clinic right now at Fort Ord, and we're almost there. We can't stop now. There's just too much demand out there.
Well, thank you for your leadership on Fort Ord. Of course, it is a treasure to our country, it has been, and now in its new life, which would not have been possible without your relentless, persistent, constant leadership on the subject. And I know that wonderful opportunities exist now that have blossomed. You commented to the President this week about the Antiquities Act and the use of that and what it means to a community and what it has meant.
Yeah, it's job promotion. I mean, I think that sometimes people don't think that preserving the environment and making it accessible provides jobs for the tourism industry, for people who want to access it, for use it. We have the largest bicycle festival in the world is called the Sea Otter Classic. It's at former Fort Ord. There's 55,000 people there, and I told the President, you know, behind every one of those bicycles is several jobs. So, you know, we can enhance job development in non-traditional ways.
I think you were the first question yesterday for the President, of this week for the President, and it was so positive, and he was so pleased to hear what you had to say, and I know you had follow-up conversation with him afterward. I'm
pleased that he's going to use his executive authorities because, frankly, as you stated, we can't legislate now. We're stuck, and being able to get bills that are positive bills that are workforce bills and others through Congress. So he has some authorities that I think he could use much more often than he has. I mean, I appreciate what he's done in the past.
He appreciated hearing what you had to say, but so did our colleagues, because you were teaching them as you were speaking with the President.
Speaking of teacher, you're the greatest teacher of all. 25 years.
Almost 26 now. 25 and a half, okay. June, it'll be 26, June.
When you arrived in Congress, did you have any grandchildren at the time?
Oh my gosh, no. I didn't even have any married children. No, my kids were in college. So that's what enabled me, by and large, to go. My one more youngest was a senior in high school. And when I asked her, Alexandra, Mommy has a chance to run for Congress. I don't know whether I'll win. I would rather be one more year when you are in college, too. But I'm happy to be home with you. I love my life. But I also have this opportunity. Any answer is a good one. What do you want me to do? And she said, Mother, get a life. What teenage girl would not want her mother gone a few days of the week? So it's a few days.
So how many grandchildren do you have now?
Now I'm good. We have 9 grandchildren, 7 boys, 2 girls. Lovely. I have 4 daughters, 1 son, so it's a reverse there. But they're adorable. Yeah, they're well, now
it's 26 years, remarkable career. Nobody's had anything like it in history. Either male or female, because of all the substantive accomplishments. It's not just the speakership, which is so marvelous, but what I admire so much about you is you use your power to do good and to do a lot of it, not just one thing.
Well, I accept your compliment on behalf of our House Democratic Caucus. Its willingness to be courageous, to work in a bipartisan way, be a resource intellectually of all kinds of new, fresh thinking, to think entrepreneurially about how we do public-private partnerships, recognizing the role of the private sector and the success of our economy and our innovation and our being number one competitively in the world. So, yeah, I always accept the compliment on behalf of our colleagues, our House Democratic Caucus.
But it also goes beyond just accomplishments, because what you have done, I think, and you know, I have a granddaughter, I have 1 daughter and a granddaughter, so I'm very interested in women's access, women's equality. You've done a wonderful job of being able to bring to the attention the inequality in pay structure and the Lilly Ledbetter Act that we've passed. Women's access to family planning issues, not only domestically but around the world.
I know, remember when your granddaughter was born, what a joy she is to you and Sherry. I really appreciate compliments from fathers and grandfathers of girls. When I first was elected whip and then leader and then speaker, what was impressive to me was the number of dads and granddads who wrote. Of course the moms did and the young girls did and that, but the dads who wrote and said, my daughter, I know she can do anything now, and you have breaking the marble ceiling tells her that every path is open to her. That really, just the whole change in thinking of dads as to the prospects for their daughters was a beautiful thing. But we have many challenges for women. Pay equity, we haven't finished our work there. Lilly Ledbetter was a wonderful bill, but we still have more work to be done on pay equity. I myself think that the initiative that will unleash all of the contributions that women can make intellectually and to our military, to our economy, to our academic world, to our health care community, to our families, every respect would be greatly enhanced if we had affordable, quality child care. This is something that I think is a missing link in women getting the right to vote, women in the workplace, World War II, women, higher education of women, women in the professions. But where is that piece that says affordable, quality child care for women and for men and for their families? But when that happens, I think you will see a different environment in which women will succeed in a way that again, benefits our national security, our economy, every aspect of our lives, and certainly our politics and our government. The more women involved, the more wholesome it all is.
Oh, it's certainly, and I think your leadership has also been able to inspire a lot of very talented, incredibly talented women to run for Congress, and this new freshman class in our party is just the best I've ever seen, the most talented, experienced, and I think that's because of your leadership here too. Let me go back for a moment just to this impasse on the fiscal situation.
But before you do, I just want to say this one thing. We will have many more women in Congress if we reduce the role of money in politics, which I have issued a dare for us to do. Reduce the role of money, increase the level of civility. You will elect many more women to public office, and that's a wholesome thing for our country.
I struggled with that when I first got here. I authored, it was the old Sam Gadenson bill that had actually passed the House, and
President vetoed it.
President vetoed it. It was to put a limit on campaign expenditures in Congress. We had to make it voluntary, but it was a bill that had 120 Democratic co-sponsors, and we couldn't get one Republican to do it.
Well, thank you for your leadership in this regard. We're still working on it, and we're hopeful that we can.
Well, I
something.
think it's absolutely.
But you want to talk about the budget now?
There's a lot of things I want to talk about. How do the president explain, that it's a balanced approach, and obviously you're right in the middle of all that argument. Do you think we have a chance this year to, we'll probably get something done on immigration.
We will. I feel pretty confident about immigration right now today.
And our senator from California, Dianne Feinstein's taken a lead on trying to reestablish what we used to have in the law under the Clinton administration on at least some bans on assault weapons and on magazines that carry lots of bullets, and that seems to be getting some support in committee over in the Senate. But do you think we can do that in the House?
Well, let's be positive about what we can do. I feel pretty confident about where we are right now on immigration in a very bipartisan way to do something that is the boldest common denominator, not the lowest.
Good.
So that we do something that is real. It won't be everything that we ever wanted, but it will be a compromise, and that will be a good thing. Just a little few more provisions to be worked out, and it's my hope that we will be able to do something in the spring. The second point on the gun issue, Senator Feinstein has been a champion on this. Senator Boxer also on safety in the schools, she's been a leader as well. On the assault weapon ban that came out of committee this week, that was a triumph. Whether it passes on the floor will depend on how much the American people want to have that ban, and that they have to weigh in. They have to weigh in on that. Our principles among the House Democrats include a ban on assault weapons. Mike Thompson from rural California is our leader on this issue, and he's brought together to form a consensus among Democrats. Not everybody is supporting every aspect of it, but consensus on ban of future sales of assault weapons, ban of future sales on the high-capacity magazines, we call them the assault magazines, the issue that a very thorough and complete background check, issues that relate to mental health, and that. So some of that agenda should pass in a very strong way. We'll soon find out how the assault weapon ban fares in the Senate. Nobody thought we could do it 20 years ago when we were here and had that fight, but it passed, and it saved lives for a decade, and then it expired. So hopefully we can get that again. But I feel pretty strongly that if we do not do something about the high-capacity magazines and the background checks, shame on us. Shame on us,
and particularly hurts California, because we've had these laws in California for over 25 years.
When you were part of passing them.
And then what happens is people can go to Nevada or Arizona or some other place, or through the mail order or gun shows, and it's sort of exempted from California law, and that's a tragedy for what's happening. You know, we just had 2 police officers shot in Santa Cruz, and it's devastated the community.
I know, and you had a beautiful tribute.
Yeah, the city really turned out for that one, and I think that they're very concerned about, you know, that we do something.
Well, some of the police officers and the chiefs who have come forward from all over the country, from rural areas as well as urban areas, have told us that they have to spend money they don't have. You know, they have to allocate resources at the expense of other priorities to increase the capacity of the weaponry they have to prevent crime in their communities because of the arsenal that is available to criminals. And it is really, 2 people died in Santa Cruz. Across the country, lives are lost because of the police being outgunned.
Yeah.
The police being outgunned.
We ought to be, and the federal role ought to be very major in helping states and communities resolve this issue.
Well, let's hope so, and I think we have to hope and pray and work very hard on this, because it's about the oath we take to protect and defend the Constitution and the American people.
So those are some positive things that we can do.
Yeah, I think so. And then on the budget, I think we have to be hopeful that there are enough Republicans who say we can close loopholes, unfair, wasteful loopholes that are in the tax code, and we can use those resources to decrease the deficit. Some of the Republicans in their leadership say we only use those loopholes to lower the corporate rate. Well, we want to look at that too, but we also have to use some of those resources to reduce the deficit, because reduce the deficit is a priority, and if we don't do it with closing those loopholes and tax expenditures where we spend money to give tax breaks, then we have to cut it out of the education of our children, the health security of our seniors. It's just not fair.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting that the budget that they proposed right now wants to try to close this deficit in 10 years. And I was thinking that sounds reasonable, but nobody in their right mind goes out and gets a mortgage on their house, which is a big debt, and works out an agreement to pay it back in 10 years. It's just too steep of a curve. They say, give me 15 years, give me 30 years. I can do this in a monthly. And for us at the federal level, what we need in place is a plan. If we have the plan, the confidence of the financial institutions is there, and the problem is trying to do this all by cut, squeeze, and trim. We couldn't do that in our own family. No. You just certain things you just can't cut and squeeze and trim and find savings in.
And when you think of what the sequester did, the sequester was there because the Republicans did not want to close any loopholes in order to reduce the deficit. So instead, what are we doing? 4 million Meals on Wheels, nutrition for our seniors, tens of thousands of children thrown off of Head Start, Title I for children in economically disadvantaged areas, greatly reduced. I mean, our children, our seniors, paying the price, our competitiveness paying the price, because nothing brings more money to the Treasury than investments in education. Early childhood, K through 12, higher ed, post-grad, lifetime learning. And all of that is disadvantaged unless you want to get more revenue. And we're not changing the rates. We did that last year. Now it's time for us to close these loopholes for the purpose of reducing the deficit, not just for the purpose of lowering the corporate rate. I'm open to seeing how we can lower the corporate rate, but we have to do both.
And what the other cost of this, or the loss of this, is what you've been so strong in, is investment in the future, investment in NIH and NSF. And as the president pointed out yesterday, if we slip with the amount of money they want to cut, it will take away it'll take away 2 years of research. America can't afford to lose 2 years of research when Germany and Japan and China and all the other industrialized countries, they're going to be investing in it. They're going to be hiring the smartest people in this country to come work for them. And America will slip, it'll slip dangerously.
You're absolutely right, and the President said it so well yesterday. But the fact is that excellence is what we're supposed to be about. Excellence attracts talent. Talent increases the excellence. That attracts capital, which attracts talent. But if we're letting that go overseas because we are diminishing our commitment, it's just wrong. The Ryan budget, this 10-year budget, is very damaging to our future in so many ways. When he did his first budget, he was going to balance by 2040, 30 years, or 2042. So now he's balancing in 10 years, and to do that, you really have to, you have a blueprint for worse than mediocrity. Not only that, in their budget, in order to achieve balance, they repeal the benefits of the Affordable Care Act, but keep all the savings that are in the bill and use it to subsidize tax cuts.
Which is a false.
But it's a hoax.
Yeah, you can't.
It's a hoax. So let's just put that in the hoax category, and in the hope category, we'll talk about the Republicans who are willing to say, rather than do that, let's figure out how we can deal with closing tax loopholes, ending tax expenditures, how you spend the public's money to give tax breaks to special interest, and use those resources to have better balance in our budget as we go forward.
Nancy, let me end on, Madam Speaker, let me end on a it's kind of a light note, but I think people in California and the nation will really appreciate it. I know as our leader and a national leader, international leader, you're about to go to Rome.
Yes.
And I think you said something so beautiful yesterday about the connection with San Francisco. Would you just repeat that?
Well, what I said to the caucus when the President was there, as you know, I said that I was so pleased that His Holiness took the name of St. Francis. St. Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of San Francisco, and he's Pope Francis. And that St. Francis of Assisi cared so much for the poor and all of God's creation. And he really, the Song of St. Francis, make me an instrument of thy peace, where there is darkness may be light, despair, hope. You know the Song of St. Francis is really what our city is about, what our country is about, what our caucus is about. And I therefore was very pleased that the Pope Francis, in choosing that name, recognized that caring for the poor. And I think that has been emblematic of his service so far as a cardinal and now as a pope. So I'm hopeful. We all, we have our concerns about caring for all of God's people, and let's pray that that's the course we're on now.
Well, what a beautiful way to end this conversation. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sam, for your leadership, for your humanity, for your greatness.
Thank you for watching.
For more information, contact one of Congressman Farr's district offices. You can also reach Congressman Farr in Washington or visit his website.